All right, so today we are going to be doing a deep dive on Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek,
Ooh, exciting.
which is a book that's really less about working less and more about designing a life of freedom and fulfillment.
Yeah, right now. Like right now.
And are you ready to ditch that deferred life plan?
Yes, please.
Work now, enjoy life later?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Okay, so we're going to unpack Ferriss's deal framework.
Yeah.
Definition, elimination, automation, and liberation.
I love a good framework.
Yes. And I will definitely be sprinkling in some of the most memorable examples from the book to make it really stick.
Awesome.
So what's so impactful about this book, when you first read it?
Well, I think what's so interesting about this book is it really just kind of throws down the gauntlet and challenges this idea that we have to grind away for decades
Right.
before we can even think about living our dreams.
Yeah.
He's all about taking action today.
Yeah,
And that's what makes it so impactful.
absolutely. Okay, so let's start with definition. What does that even mean in the context of escaping the 9-to-5 grind?
So it all starts with getting really, really clear about what your ideal life looks like.
Okay.
Not some vague fantasy of, oh, I want to win the lottery.
Yeah.
Like real nitty-gritty details. What does your perfect day look like?
Uh-huh.
Where are you living? What are you spending your time doing?
Right.
If you could design your life from scratch,
Yeah.
what would it look like?
Okay, so that's what he calls dreamlining, right?
Yes.
Where you actually map out what you want to be, do, and have in the
Yes.
next 6 to 12 months.
Exactly.
But how does that translate into actually breaking free from that traditional work model?
That's where this idea of target monthly income, or TMI, comes in.
Okay.
Ferriss really pushes you to figure out how much money you actually need each month
Yeah.
to fund that dream lifestyle you just envisioned.
Yeah,
And it's often way less than people think.
right. And that's such a key part of the new rich philosophy that he talks about. Those folks that are prioritizing time and mobility over just like stockpiling cash.
Yes.
Have you ever felt like, those traditional measures of success,
Uh-huh.
the big house, the fancy car,
Yeah.
they don't really resonate with you?
Hmm.
You'd rather have that freedom to travel, pursue your passions, or just spend more time with the people that you love.
For sure.
That's the essence of the new rich mindset.
100%.
And it's incredibly empowering.
It really is. It's a total paradigm shift.
Yeah, but even with a clear vision,
Yeah.
fear can be a major roadblock.
It's true.
And so Ferriss knows this, and he's got a tool for that.
Does he ever?
It's the fear-setting exercise.
I love that one.
Oh, it's so good.
So good.
So imagine writing down the absolute worst-case scenario if you actually went after those dreams,
Yeah.
and then you brainstorm ways to mitigate those risks.
Yes.
It's like you're pulling the teeth out of those scary what-ifs
Totally.
that hold so many of us back.
Absolutely.
So brilliant. It's like taking all that nervous energy
Yeah.
and channeling it into productive action.
Yes.
So once you've defined that dream life and stared down those fears,
Yeah.
where do we go from there?
So that's where elimination comes in.
Okay.
This phase is all about ruthless efficiency.
Okay.
Remember the 80-20 principle.
Yeah.
80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts.
Right.
So it's time to identify and eliminate all those energy-draining activities that don't actually move the needle.
So basically learning to say no to anything that doesn't get you closer to your goals,
Exactly.
which can be tough.
It can, but you know what it's about.
Why?
It's about getting laser-focused.
Okay.
Ferriss calls this selective ignorance,
Mm-hmm.
meaning you consciously choose to tune out anything that isn't serving your objectives.
Okay.
Think about it. How much time do you waste scrolling through social media, reading emails that don't matter, or attending meetings that could have been an email?
Too much, probably.
Right?
Yeah, way
Yeah.
too much. Do you have any examples of what that looks like in real life?
Oh, tons. Think about how much time we all waste on email.
Oh, yeah.
Ferriss only checks his twice a day
Yeah, really.
at specific times
Yeah.
and uses autoresponders to manage incoming messages.
Wow.
He's not letting email dictate his day. He's dictating his relationship with email.
Okay, so twice a day.
Twice a day.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's amazing, right?
Yeah, it makes you realize how much of our lives is spent reacting to other people's priorities instead of focusing on our own.
Exactly. And this isn't just about email. This is about streamlining your entire workflow, batching similar tasks together so you're not constantly switching gears and losing focus. It's about reclaiming your time and attention.
Okay, so we've defined our dream life, Gotten laser focused on eliminating distractions. But
Yes.
how do we actually create a life where we are not chained to a desk?
Right.
This is where things start to get really interesting.
This is where it gets good.
Right.
Yes. And that's where automation comes in,
Okay.
which is all about building systems that work for you, not the other way around.
Oh, wait.
Imagine having income streams that generate revenue without you constantly needing to be involved.
Okay, so that's where the idea of creating a muse comes in.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
So tell me more about that.
So Ferriss encourages readers to develop these muses, which are essentially automated income streams,
Okay.
often online businesses, that generate revenue without needing your constant attention.
So it's not just about passive income,
Right.
but about designing a business that can essentially run on autopilot.
Exactly. And he gives tons of examples, from selling products to online courses.
So it's about leveraging technology and systems to free up your time.
100%.
He's a huge advocate for outsourcing and delegation,
Massive.
especially using virtual assistants or VAs to handle tasks like customer service, scheduling, even research.
Yeah, all that stuff.
You know, one anecdote from the book that really blew my mind was Ferriss outsourcing his dating life.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Is that even possible?
It's wild, right?
But that's one of the more extreme examples.
Right.
But it shows you what's possible with delegation.
Yeah.
He literally hired a VA to filter his online dating profiles and set up dates.
Oh my gosh.
Freed up his time to focus on, well, building his empire, I guess.
So outsourcing your dating life,
Wild.
it's a whole other level.
It really is.
But it does make you wonder, if you could offload even a fraction of your daily tasks, what could you accomplish?
That's exactly the point he's driving at.
Yeah.
He wants us to challenge our assumptions about what we have to do ourselves.
Right.
By embracing automation and delegation, we can create space for the things that truly matter.
Yes.
And that, my friend, leads us to the liberation phase.
Ooh, okay.
The good stuff.
So we've defined the dream, streamlined our efforts,
Yep.
and even figured out how to automate income.
We've done it.
Now it's time to actually live that life, right?
Right.
But how do we make that leap from theory to reality?
So the liberation phase is where Ferriss really flips the script on traditional ideas of work and retirement.
Okay.
Instead of waiting for some distant future to enjoy life,
Right.
he urges us to weave mini retirements into our lives now.
Wait, mini retirements?
Uh-huh.
What do those even look like?
Right.
Is it just about traveling the world and working from exotic beaches?
It can definitely be that.
Okay.
Think extended periods of travel, exploration, or just taking a break from the daily grind to pursue something you're passionate about.
Okay.
Ferriss famously spent months living in Argentina while his business ran on autopilot.
Right.
But liberation is about more than just location independence.
So it's not just about where you work,
Right.
but also about how and when you work.
You got it.
Right.
It's about having the freedom to design your work schedule around your life, not the other way around.
Okay.
Prioritizing experiences, relationships, and personal growth right alongside your professional goals.
That sounds amazing, but also pretty daunting.
It can be.
So how realistic is that for someone who's, tied to a job or a specific location?
Yeah, that's a great question.
We'll have to dig into that more when we come back. All right, so we've talked about this idea of liberation, designing a life where work fits into your life, not the other way around.
It's a beautiful thing.
But how realistic is that for the average person? I mean, not all of us can just pack up and move to Argentina.
True. Not everyone's ready for a tango in Buenos Aires.
Right.
But, Ferriss provides strategies for negotiating remote work arrangements.
Okay.
Even if your company isn't exactly embracing the whole digital nomad lifestyle.
So it's not about demanding a one-way ticket to paradise.
Right.
About having a conversation and showcasing the benefits of remote work for both you and your employer.
Exactly. You got to make it a win-win.
Okay. Yeah.
Demonstrate your productivity outside the office.
Okay.
Maybe suggest a trial period of working remotely a few days a week.
Yeah.
Show them it's not about slacking off, it's about working smarter.
It's about proving that you can deliver results no matter where your desk is located.
Ex-
But even if your current job isn't on board, Ferriss doesn't want you to give up on the dream, right?
No, not at all.
Okay.
He encourages, exploring other options.
Okay.
Maybe it's time to polish up that resume, network with companies that embrace remote work, or even start building a side hustle that could eventually become your main gig.
So it's about taking those initial steps, however small they may seem, towards a life with more freedom and flexibility.
Yes, 100%.
But before we get too carried away with daydreams of working from a beachside hammock,
Right.
Let's shift gears and talk about some of the specific tools and strategies Ferriss offers to make this whole 4-hour work week thing actually happen.
Yes, let's get tactical.
Right.
It's easy to get swept up in the big picture ideas,
Right.
but without concrete steps, it can all feel a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I appreciate about Ferriss's approach.
Yeah.
He doesn't just leave you with abstract concepts. He gives you actionable tools to actually implement these changes.
So what are some of the tools that really jumped out at you?
Well, we already touched on the fear-setting exercise,
Yeah.
which is brilliant for overcoming that analysis paralysis that keeps so many of us stuck.
Right.
By confronting your fears head-on, you could start making bolder decisions.
It's like that saying, do the thing you fear and the death of fear is certain.
Yes, I love that.
And Ferriss provides a framework for actually putting that into practice.
Exactly, and it ties into his whole philosophy of questioning conventional wisdom
Right.
and challenging those limiting beliefs that hold us back.
Another tool I found really intriguing was the concept of lifestyle design experiments.
Ooh, yes. Tell me more.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
It's all about taking small, calculated risks to test your assumptions and gather real-world data.
Oh,
Think of it like dipping your toes in the water before diving headfirst into a major life change.
so instead of quitting your job and buying a one-way ticket to Bali tomorrow,
Right.
you're testing the waters with smaller, more manageable steps.
Precisely.
Okay.
Let's say you're dreaming of starting an online business.
Okay.
Ferriss suggests testing your idea with a limited budget, maybe even just $100,
Okay.
to see if there's actual demand for your product or service.
That's a lot less scary than investing your life savings into something that might not work.
Exactly.
Right.
And these experiments don't have to be limited to business ventures.
Okay.
You could use this approach to test out a new skill, dip your toes into a potential career change, or even experiment with different living arrangements before making a permanent move.
So it's about gathering information and adjusting your course as you go, right?
Holy.
Not being afraid to fail,
Yes.
but seeing those quote-unquote failures as valuable learning experiences.
I love that reframe.
Yeah.
That's a key part of the 4-hour workweek philosophy.
Right.
Ferriss even has a term for it.
What is it?
Failure redefinition.
Okay.
He encourages us to embrace calculated risks and view setbacks as stepping stones on the path to success.
It's about shifting our perspective and seeing failure not as an endpoint, but as a valuable source of feedback.
And this whole idea of experimentation ties back into our conversation about liberation.
Okay.
Even small steps, like negotiating for a work-from-home day or testing a business idea on a limited budget,
Right.
can move you closer to that ultimate goal of designing a life you love.
Speaking of working from home, Ferriss has some pretty insightful advice on negotiating with your employer,
Oh, yeah, he does.
even if they're not exactly known for being flexible.
It's true.
So he provides the step-by-step plans
Yes.
for making a compelling case for remote work.
Yes.
And he emphasizes the importance of framing it as a win-win for both you and your company.
Absolutely.
So it's not about demanding special treatment,
Right.
but about showcasing the benefits, increased productivity, reduced overhead costs, happier employees.
I mean, who doesn't want that?
Right.
Right.
That remote work can bring.
Exactly. And he suggests starting small,
Okay.
maybe proposing a trial period of working from home a few days a week
Okay.
to build trust and demonstrate your reliability.
It's about proving that you can deliver results no matter where your office happens to be.
That's the key.
And even if your current employer isn't open to the idea, Ferriss reminds us that there are other options out there.
That's true.
Companies are increasingly embracing remote work.
Yes.
And with the rise of the gig economy,
Uh-huh.
there are more opportunities than ever to create a location-independent income.
So many options.
So it's about being proactive, resourceful, and persistent in pursuing your goals.
Yes. And speaking of productivity, Ferriss is like a master
Yes.
of time management and efficiency.
Right.
He's got a whole arsenal of tips and hacks for getting more done in less time.
He's all about working smarter, not harder.
Yes.
One of my favorite productivity hacks from the book is his take on Parkinson's law.
Oh, interesting.
Can you remind me what Parkinson's law is?
Yeah, so it states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion.
Okay.
Basically, the more time you give yourself to complete a task, the longer it will take.
Ah, yes. The classic procrastination dilemma. So how does Ferriss apply this to productivity?
He suggests setting tight, well-defined deadlines to force focus and efficiency.
Okay.
By compressing the amount of time you have for a task, You eliminate distractions and work with greater urgency.
It's like creating artificial pressure to get things done.
Exactly.
And I could see how that would be really effective, especially for someone who struggles with procrastination.
For sure, and he's got another great tip. Identifying your peak performance times.
Okay.
Those periods of the day when you're naturally most focused and energized.
Yeah, like being a morning person versus a night owl.
Exactly.
I'm definitely more of a morning person.
Same.
Trying to tackle complex tasks after lunch is a recipe for disaster.
It really is.
So Ferriss encourages scheduling your most challenging tasks during those peak times.
Yes.
And saving more mundane tasks for when your energy levels are lower.
Absolutely. Such a simple but effective strategy.
It really is.
It's about aligning your work schedule with your natural rhythms.
Are there any other productivity hacks that stood out to you?
He also talks about the power of batching similar tasks together.
Okay.
Instead of constantly switching gears, you focus on completing related tasks in dedicated blocks of time.
Okay.
This minimizes distractions and allows you to get into a flow state.
It makes so much sense.
It really does.
It's like minimizing the mental friction of switching between different tasks.
Exactly. And it frees up mental bandwidth for the things that really matter.
You know, one thing I appreciate about Ferriss is that he's not just a theorist. He's a
Right.
practitioner.
He walks the walk.
He walks the walk.
Yes.
He embodies the very principles he advocates for.
100%.
Whether it's learning a new language, mastering a martial art, or experimenting with unconventional business strategies.
He's always pushing the
He's
boundaries.
constantly pushing himself outside of his comfort zone.
And that's what makes the 4-hour work week so compelling.
Yes.
It's not just a set of rules. It's an invitation to embrace a mindset of continuous learning and growth.
It's about questioning assumptions, challenging the status quo, and ultimately designing a life that aligns with your values and aspirations.
Beautifully said.
And speaking of designing your life,
Yes.
we still haven't fully unpacked the concept of liberation.
Right.
How do we actually achieve that sense of freedom and fulfillment that Ferriss is promoting?
That's the big question.
Let's dive into that after a quick break. So we've covered a lot of ground, from defining your dream life to eliminating distractions and even automating income streams.
It's a lot to take in.
But it all leads to this liberation.
Yeah, the big L.
It sounds amazing, but also kind of intimidating.
It can be a little bit scary.
Like, where do you even start?
Right?
You know, Ferriss uses that example of living in Argentina
Oh,
while
yeah.
his business ran on autopilot.
I love that story.
That's a pretty radical image, though. Like,
Yeah.
does liberation have to look like that for everyone?
Not at all. You know, that's just one example of what's possible
Okay.
when you embrace this mindset.
Yeah.
Liberation isn't just about, exotic travel.
Okay.
It's about having the freedom to design your life on your own terms.
So it's less about specific locations and more about having control over your time and your choices.
You got it.
Okay.
It's about aligning your work with your values, your passions, and your goals.
Right.
It's about having the autonomy to decide how, when, and where you work.
So for someone who's feeling stuck in a traditional job,
Yeah.
how do they even begin to approach this idea of liberation?
Well, Ferriss talks about you deconstructing your job.
Okay.
Think about it like this.
Okay.
What parts of your current job are truly essential?
Okay.
And what could be eliminated, automated, or even delegated to someone else?
It's not necessarily about quitting your job,
Right.
but about finding ways to make it work for you
Yes.
instead of the other way around.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of your time and energy
Yeah.
and designing a work life that gives you more flexibility and freedom. It might mean negotiating for a flexible schedule or exploring remote work options, or even just, taking more break throughout the day to recharge and pursue things you enjoy.
So start small, experiment, see what works best for you.
Exactly. Remember those lifestyle design experiments we talked about?
Yeah.
This is a perfect opportunity to put them into practice.
Okay.
Test out different approaches to your work, track your results,
Right.
and see what brings you closer to that feeling of liberation.
It's like that idea of failing forward.
Yes.
Seeing setbacks not as defeats, but as opportunities to learn and adjust your course.
I love that. And, keep in mind that this is a journey, not a destination.
Okay.
Liberation isn't a finish line you cross. It's an ongoing process of evolving, adapting, and constantly creating a life that aligns with your values and priorities.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the 4-hour work week, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Okay.
If time and mobility were your top priorities, what would your ideal day look like?
Ooh,
Where would you be?
good question.
what would you be doing?
Yeah.
Take some time to really visualize it, maybe even write it down.
That's a powerful exercise.
It is.
Ferriss calls it dreamlining,
Yeah,
and it's the first step towards turning those dreams into a reality.
absolutely.
Remember, the DEAL framework is a toolkit.
Yes.
You can adapt it to fit your own unique goals and aspirations.
So take what resonates with you, experiment, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.